Hey everybody, my name is Shane Hale, and I'm coming to you from my office at my home in Mobile, Alabama. I'm not at a baseball field or a hitting facility like some other videos have been shot at, but this is about the best I thought I could do that would make it at least look like it was sports oriented. I do want to thank Matt Oakes and thank the Crossing Home group for asking me to speak and be the speaker for this week's not a testimony, but a talk. I'm always excited to brag on God, what He's done in my life, and I was excited about the opportunity to have a chance to do so with this group. So, without further ado, I'll tell you a little bit more about myself real quick. Again, my name is Shane Hale. I was born in a map dot town in Mississippi called Lucedale, right across the state line from Mobile, Alabama, and that was a farming community. And leaving there to play sports anywhere after high school, unless you played football, maybe basketball, was a stretch. It just wasn't going to happen. But I was fortunate enough to be able to get a scholarship offer from South Alabama, play for the Jaguars, played there 4 years. And after 4 years, I was a seventh round draft pick by the Baltimore Orioles way, way back in 1990. It's been a minute. I was a left-handed pitcher. And spent 7 years in the Orioles organization, battled arm injuries, a couple elbow surgeries. And after 7 years, I hung it up. I did not make the big leagues. So don't go Googling my name trying to find any big league talent that wasn't there. They may be wondering why have I got an Orioles jersey on. Well, when I turned 50, I made the comment to my wife, my mother, at some point in my past, that I would like to have an Orioles jersey just to have. So for my 50th birthday, they gave me one. So I thought I would wear it today. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about sports. Why do we play sports? I know we're looking at Crossing Home was kind of a baseball-oriented group. But they're looking at targeting people that play sports anywhere, any age group, any sport, anywhere in the world. The athletes think a lot alike. We have a lot of things in common, regardless of what kind of sport we're playing. But why do we play? We play for fun. It's just fun. It's a blessing to be out there to be able to play a sport, to compete. It's just fun by itself. But at the same time, you often feel a fire inside when you play sports. And I remember when I was 7 years old, I was sitting in my living room, getting ready to go to a baseball game. And my dad had the radio cranked up and had my uniform on. I'm all, ready to go play ball. I'm 7. And I felt this like burning feeling in my chest. I was like, this feels good. What is this? I don't know what it was. But it was basically the first time I ever recall getting fired up about being able to go play sports, go play ball. Baseball was my thing. It's all I was really good at as a kid. I was real skinny, real small, very late bloomer. But I remember well that fire I felt in my chest, the little bitty 7-year-old kid. And I spent my career chasing that feeling, chasing that fire. And the longer I played, and the bigger stage I played on, and the more people that came to watch me play, and the harder I worked to be able to play and to keep leveling up and keep getting to the next level, the bigger that fire became. And it just became a consuming feeling that I chased. I love to play ball, but I was after that feeling, man, that burning sensation in your chest that if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. It's what athletes feel. And it's kind of what sets us apart playing sports is. It can be our thing, okay? Everybody's got a thing, whether it's big trucks, playing music, ballet, academics, doesn't matter. We all got a thing. And baseball is my thing, and sports becomes a thing for a lot of people. And what can happen with you when you start spending a lot of time pursuing one thing, especially in sports, is you can build an identity on that thing. And that's not real good. I mean, it's not a good thing to do that because you can lose it. Okay, I'm trying to keep my thoughts straight here because I'm ADD. And I get off in a ditch. But it's not a good idea to build your identity on anything worldly. And by worldly, I mean things of the world: money, career, a job, your ability to play a certain sport. Things that you're going to leave behind. I mean, things you're not going to take with you. Okay, well, Shane, what should I build my identity on? Well, build your identity on Christ as a Christian. I didn't do that for a lot of years. I'm 52 years old now. And I was in my late 40s before my life really became unraveled. I quit playing baseball at 27, got married, had kids, usual stuff, got a job, went to work, had a great wife, great family, still do. I was just empty inside, okay? And my identity for so many years has been built as a ball player. It was built on sports, built on my successes as a sports figure. And when that was gone, it left a hole inside of me, okay? And I tried to fill that hole and find that passion in life with other stuff. I did pretty well work-wise, made a lot of money, bought stuff, and that supported me for a while. But in time, I lost a lot of those things, and I had to really come to reckoning with myself. But I came to what I say the end of myself as time went by, and I realized at some point that I couldn't keep filling that hole inside of me with stuff the world had to offer. And so I started looking to God for that. which I should have done a long time ago. That's the thing to build your identity on. And that's the thing with happening with sports. It ends. It's going to end at some point. Maybe it ends at JV. Maybe it's high school. Maybe you're fortunate to play some JUCO ball or D1 ball. Go pro in some capacity. But it's going to end for you at some point. You're going to age out. Nobody's going to give you a jersey because you're just not good enough. It happens to all of us. You get tired of playing and hang it up. You get released and told to go home, and you can't get on another team. But it ends at some point. And when it ends, if that's the thing that your fun, your fire is built on, you don't have that platform anymore, and you don't have that identity anymore. So what happens? Well, it leaves a big hole inside of you. And a lot of people I've talked to, guys that have played ball, that I've played ball with over the years, that have been down a similar path, we all find ourselves in a position where we go, now what? What do we do now? And that's when you start filling that hole inside you with other things. I can't play sports, so I'll go find some worldly success. And those things just run out. They're not I got some notes to keep me on track. They're not something that's just sustainable, okay? So what do you do? Well, you fill the hole with God. That's the thing you do. You do that first. So your identity is built on Christ, built on being a Christian, follower of Christ, having Christ in your life. If you build your identity on these things, everything else is secondary. You can lose all those other things, but you don't lose Christ. He's a constant. He doesn't change, unlike the world around us. Now, I want to tell you a story about a chapel I went to when I was playing ball. This is my second year of pro ball. We were on the road in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I was playing in Frederick, Maryland for the Frederick Keys. And we would have chapel on Sunday morning. We might have a speaker come in, might have it could be a chaplain, it could be a preacher, it really just anybody that came in that would basically do what I'm doing now. They give a testimony, they give a lesson, a sermon on something, and we'd have it in the batting cage or, outside by the clubhouse or in the dugout. It might be 5 guys, it might be 25 guys. And on this particular day, there were probably about 10 or 12 of us. And we were on the first base side up on the hill, Winston-Salem, and there was this guy that gave his testimony. Now, I didn't know this guy, and he was probably, I was in my early 20s. He was probably late 20s, and he was a drug addict that had gotten clean for a couple of years. And he was happy. Now, he looked like he had some miles on him because he lived a pretty hard life. But he told about how he had lost everything in his life, his friends, his money, his job. He had nothing left to lose, no bridge left to burn. And he finally turned to Christ and said, "Can you help me? Can you fix me?" He had nothing left at 20-something years old. And God picked him up, scooped him up, gave him strength, got him through his problems, and there he was, a clean man, filled with joy, out talking to a bunch of strangers at a baseball field on a Sunday morning. And as we're walking off, I remember thinking to myself, all the other chapels I went to, all the ones I sat through, I cannot remember anything anybody said of the ones that I went to. And there were a lot of them. I played ball for 7 years. But I remember that guy's joy and his happiness and asking myself, what makes him do that? What makes him able to get up and go out and talk to total strangers about God? Because I was raised in a Christian home. I wasn't a Christian. Christ didn't really play a big role in my life. I was young and full of myself, and things were going good, and I was just Shane was rocking and rolling. So Christ was way down here with me, and I look at guys like that. And I'm like, what makes them able to do that? Well, fast forward about 20 years, I came into myself, and I gave my life to Christ, and Christ started working in my life. And by gave my life to Him, I mean, I said, God, I quit. I'm a mess. I can't do this. I'm empty. I'm broken. I'm depressed. I'm everything that I don't want to be anymore. And I had no other options in life. I had pretty much given up on anything fulfilling me. No more money wasn't going to do the trick. I was flat out going broke. But money wouldn't do the trick. Success, another hobby, a promotion. There was nothing worldly I needed. I had a huge hole inside of me that I call the God hole. And I try to fill that hole with everything under the sun, which a lot of people do, until they finally realize that nothing will fit in that hole and nothing will fill that hole except God. Nothing in the world, nothing worldly. It takes God. And I started plugging God into that hole, and my life changed. Okay? Now, He didn't wave His magic God wand and just poof, Shane's life is wonderful. But I got better, and He started getting me through things. And people started showing up in my life, and opportunities started showing up in my life. God met my needs on multiple levels. And that was what I was missing all those years. That guy shows up on a Sunday morning to tell people about what God's doing in his life. I'm sitting in front of a camera in my office at my house telling people about what God's done in my life. Because we both started to fill that hole inside of us. with God. Now, my hole was left by sports. Sports were my identity. I lost that, had a huge hole inside of me, and it took me 20 years to fill it with everything under the sun before I realized that wasn't going to work. The guy I just told you about, his hole was filled with drugs, and that left a hole in him that he filled with God. So my point here is, make God a part of your life. Seek God in your life, because sports will end one day. It may end next season for you. You may make a long career out of it, be in the Hall of Fame, somewhere in between those two, but it will end at some point. Okay, and then what do you do? Okay, so you may ask Shane, well, Shane, how do you find God? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. There's 4 ways, and I got this from a friend of mine, Alan Floyd, the pastor over at College Hill Baptist, told me years ago. They're saying there's 4 ways you can find God, and I found out he was spot on. Not that I doubted him to begin with, but it was very accurate. And here's the 4 ways. If you're looking for God in your life, or if you find you want to add God to your life, you want to seek God in your life, God speaks to us through our circumstances. Okay, you find ourselves in a bad spot, we cry out to Him. He helps us. He meets our needs. Bad things can happen that bring us to our knees, that make us ask for God's help. Good things can happen that maybe God orchestrates, so we realize where it's God at work in our life. We go, well, God, okay, I gave you a piece of my life and you did these things. I'll give you some more of my life. And He does more stuff. He speaks to us through our circumstances. He speaks to us through the church. That's number 2, is the church. I don't mean the church building. I don't mean the sticks and bricks, the building. The people that make up the church. Me, Matt Oakes, Kurt Moak. I can't remember that last name right. Alvy Shepard, Ross Buckwalter, my buddies that play ball that I converse with quite a bit. We're the church. If you're a Christian, you're the church. Okay, get involved in the church. Go to church. Listen to the sermon. Read the hymns. Be a part of the church itself. Okay, whether it's a small group, a Sunday school group, in some capacity, get around God's people and be with them and worship and listen. God will work in your life that way. Church is a big part of my repertoire. This is a big part of my life, is going to church. I go to church every Sunday morning, everywhere. Every Sunday, no matter where I'm at, I go to church. And God's blessed that time with me. The third thing is the Bible. Okay, you can read the Bible from cover to cover 100 times. It will speak to you. It is a living book, and the closer your relationship with Christ becomes, the more that book will speak to you. Okay, you'll learn stuff. People in the Bible, they lived thousands of years ago. They were just like me and you. They didn't live in black and white. Okay, they lived differently, but they were as human as me and you are. Their trials, their struggles, their lives, which you read about where God worked in their life, picked them up and did great things with them. That's the same thing He does with us today. Their stories are our stories. It's just a different time, okay? And the 4th thing is through prayer. Just pray. You ain't got to go find somewhere and go on your knees and close your eyes. I pray in my car all the time. Like when I'm driving down the road, I'll talk to God like He's sitting in the passenger seat. And I got a problem with this. I struggle with that. You know, I thank Him and I praise Him, but I have a conversation with God throughout the day. Some days more than others. But prayer, those are your 4 things. God speaks to you through your circumstances, through the church, the people, the Bible, and prayer. So if you want to find God, add God to your life, find some combination of those 4 things, okay? And then tell somebody. Here's the last thing. Tell somebody what God's doing in your life, all right? Okay? That's important. Brag on God. I mean, I get excited about talking about what God's doing in my life, the things He's done, and encourage other people to give God access to their life that are struggling, that are going through bad times. You may say, Shane, well, I'm not qualified, man. It's not my thing. Well, it wasn't my thing either until I gave Christ access to my life. And I had to all of a sudden have this desire to share. I do a lot of writing. I speak occasionally. I'll do anything He wants me to do. If He gives me an opportunity to brag on Him, I'll do it. I'll tell people about it. But you may say, what makes you qualified? Okay? Here's the test. Find if you're qualified. Put your hand on your chest right there. You feel that? Feel that thumping? If you got one of those, it means you're qualified. Okay? Go lean into a mirror and breathe on that mirror. If it fogs up, you're qualified. All right? If He can use me, He can use anybody. Anybody. Trust me. Nothing special about me whatsoever. I'm a country boy from a map town in southern Mississippi. And here I am. So that's all I got. And I keep talking, I don't talk myself in circles. I hope y'all can understand my southern accent. It's kind of thick. I talk a little fast sometimes, don't enunciate my words. But I appreciate you paying attention. God bless all of y'all, and let God work in your life. Give Him access to your life and see what happens. Take care.